My name is David from Acorn. We provide a learning, development, capabilities and performance system to 70% of the federal government already. Looking to improve that number every day. But we want to talk about what we're doing with AI, a little bit in the actual functionality and the features, but also a lot more about how do we get AI into our government organizations. There's a lot of questions about security, privacy. We want to sort of dig into that kind of this stuff. So let's talk about the problem space first. We're all buzzing about AI, right? We're all here for a reason. This space is full. There's lots of vendors, there's lots of you guys who are really interested in this stuff. And it's really exciting. However, we know that not everybody's using it. In fact, most people aren't. And it's for the same challenge that we used to. It's not because we lack ideas. We have so many ways that we want to use it. It's not because the tech isn't there. We've all tried the little prototypes and the proof of concepts, and they're all really cool and great. The problem is the things that we're already used to. Governments, procurement, risk, security, all the usual stuff. These are problems that we've encountered before, that we've solved before. But with AI, we're encountering them at such a rate that it's like entirely overwhelming. So it's really actually hard to get an AI product off the ground. So for us, we wanted to focus on a very narrow use case in order to address that problem. I'll get into why that's important later on. But for us, we're all about capabilities, making sure that your employees and your organizations can improve themselves, get better at their jobs, improve their capabilities to improve themselves, but also your organization as a whole. So that's what we're using AI for. So we use it for 3 primary use cases that I want to talk about today. It suggests job-aligned capabilities, it helps us define role definitions, and it maps capabilities to content as well. But the most important thing, a foundational thing for us, is the AI should never be making decisions. It should be recommending, making suggestions. It helps with that big bulk piece of work. So for example, the content mapping. You might have a capability library for your organization, for all the things that your people need to do. That might be 200 capabilities long. And your content, your learning and development content, you might have procured external providers, there might be 100,000 pieces of content. Mapping those 2 enormous lists together is a huge task and would take such a massive amount of time. That's where we see the value of AI, doing that kind of work at bulk, not making decisions. Ultimately, it's about us making decisions, being the experts. It allows us to scale our experts that we already have, not about replacing them. And then how we actually do that practically, I just want to talk a little bit about how we approach it. We've been working with government for more than 10 years now. Our platform has been IRAP approved. So that means that when we implement new AI solutions, they need to fit into that framework. We don't want to have another system that's sitting outside that we have to worry about new governance, new compliance, new privacy concerns. It's all within the Acorn platform that we already have. So a lot of those problems are just part of that same solution. What that means in practice, no public API calls. We're not, as I think someone else was referring to earlier, like a skinny AI where it's just wrapping a chat GPT or something. Obviously, we don't want that. You guys have important information that you want to make sure you own, keep control of. We also do like zero training. We make sure that all the requests have all the context they need. So back to that mapping capabilities to content example, we provide the AI model all the capabilities and all the content at the right time so it can figure those things out. We don't train it, we don't give that information for it to hold on to, because then we end up with hallucination, we end up with bad data, all those usual problems that we've all seen. It's also really important to keep all the responses within your tenancy to make sure that that privacy and security is really, really tight. What that actually means for us is all the usual IRAP stuff. Our AI is using AWS Bedrock, which is IRAP approved. It also fits in cleanly with our existing AWS IRAP approved platform. It uses all the things that you need. HTTPS encryption, firewalls, MFA, the usual. Also really good to have logging and internal audited views, just so we know what the AI is actually doing. What that looks like in practice is this is a big diagram. Doesn't really matter most of it. The important bit is in the corners where we have our AI fit into it. It's not a system that sits elsewhere that people are talking to, things going in and out. It's really part of the system. It's part of the organization. It has the same redundancy, tenancy, restrictions, all the things that the IRAP, all the things that the rest of the Acorn platform already provides. We made sure that our new AI features fit into that cleanly. And that sort of gets us into the next thing, what we don't do, what we're very clear that we want to make sure we avoid. The first one, I already mentioned, the public prompts. This isn't just a ChatGPT skin, this is our own internal models that we host ourselves that we control and that fit into your existing systems. The second one, I've already mentioned as well, training. We really just don't want to do that at all. And finally, I just want to really reiterate this decision making. We think of AI as a solution to problems, but the problems are actually things of scale. So we've tried to implement in capability space, which is where we see the biggest value. We know that organizations want to build a capability library and they want that to be for their entire organization. But then that process of figuring out what everybody does, consulting all your leaders, figuring out what the future is going to look like, that can take 6 to 12 months. And by the end of it, you have a capability library that is not fit for purpose anymore, let alone actually figuring out how to use it. So that was the problem space that we were addressing with AI very specifically. We're not making generic models for knowledge bases, we are making really targeted use cases. So for us, the capabilities that it presents, the suggestions that it makes for how we can use those things. We don't want to build a system that does your entire performance management system for you. We want a solution where if a user wants to improve a capability, it can tell them specific pieces of content to do that. It's very narrow, it's very focused. That's a really important thing for what we at Acorn think AI should be used for. But of course, AI is big and complicated, and there's a lot of privacy, security, and governance concerns. So I think there is a bit of a tendency to think it's too hard, what's the point, why bother? And that's what I've just talked about. The fact that we have identified problems that AI can solve, things that it's actually going to be good for, not doing AI for AI's sake, but actually thinking about capabilities, managing some of these big data sets is actually going to be very important. We've seen that that doesn't work by trying to do it manually. It's too much time, it's too many resources. We are then trying to streamline those processes. So you don't end up with a static capability library of things that your organization should be doing and then nothing to do with. We want to make sure that that actually the AI can help us give that to users, give that to content, figure out actual use cases for it. One of the things we did when we approached our AI solutions is we thought about how we were going to design for risk, for compliance, for governance, rather than try and figure out how to add it on after the fact. I think the risk for AI, because it's cool and new and exciting, people come up with great ideas and then prototype them somewhere and then try and fit that prototype into existing systems and processes, which is doomed to fail in my opinion. Really, we need to be designing these solutions with that in mind from the ground up. So yeah, because Acorn, we've been working in an IRF environment for years now, we understand what those requirements are. So when we were designing our AI functions, we knew that it had to be in the existing frameworks, in the existing environment, in the existing architecture. It needed to fit in cleanly there. We need to keep up our existing privacy and security. Even if it's a new thing, even if you're not uploading user data to it, it doesn't matter. These are still important data that you guys manage, so it needs to be fitting within those same processes that we already have. We also want to make sure it preloads approved internal content only. We don't want it to be able to tell us about things outside the system, outside those very narrow use cases. We want to look at your content that's already in Acorn, your capabilities that are already in Acorn, and make decisions based on that. We don't want to recommend people videos on YouTube to learn about unless you guys have already gone in and said, no, that is good. We don't want it to be taking things from outside. It's all about providing the AI all the context that it needs to make its recommendations and suggestions within the single request. Then at the end of it, it's very narrow and renewable. So in that same conversation, you can look at, I have a new piece of content that I've just made. It's really great. I want to map it to my capabilities. And you can have the conversation with the model so it can recommend capabilities, whatever is relevant, have that same process, and then do that for different pieces of content as you procure them as you go. So for us, it's about making sure that the solutions that we built is really going to be addressing those existing security, governance, and risk standards. And we have sort of taken this as an example of like putting together a playbook. So we've been thinking about this for a while. We've already launched this with a number of government clients, and we've sort of figured out what problems do they encounter when they're trying to launch new AI features, and how can we then empower them to get through this process as smoothly and cleanly as possible. Because we know that these are sort of the things that we have sort of made clear is important. We're not using public LLMs. It's all our own stuff in AWS Bedrock. Again, IRAP. One of the more important ones, I think, is the third point there is we want to make sure that what we're using the AI for is really clear and useful and has a really clear outcome. It's quite easy for us to come up with a big, broad idea about how we want to use AI, but ultimately, as soon as you present that to someone who has a risk perspective, they're going to think about all the edge cases because it's too massive. We want to make sure that we think about it being very small, very narrow, and very useful. So that in the conversations is, it's not something huge, it's something small and narrow and important. Very small, safe use cases. I think someone else who was on before here was talking about, start small. It's really valuable. That's been our approach for it. We're not building something that's going to change your entire organization. We're using it to address a very specific problem that we're already seeing, and we're going to solve that very, very clearly. And of course, the static templates, that's it. It's about the capability libraries that don't get updated, that don't get used. This is going to help us make sure we have solutions that can get the adoption of those things that are actually important. And this is what we sort of come up with, this risk mitigation plan. We're happy to share this with you. It's really valuable, but it sort of goes through all these important steps that you guys are going to have to go through for adopting any AI program, the questions that you're going to get asked, the questions that you should ask as well as part of the process, as the idea to get these things actually into use, rather than people just trying to stop it. Like, the compliance team wants to say yes. They want to be using things. They need to understand the value. And so we just need to frame the question in a way, we want to use this AI and here's why. We just need to make sure that's very clear that they can understand. Because if it's too broad, it's too complicated, it's too hard for them to understand, they're just going to say, it's too risky, we're just going to make it hard. We don't want that. We want to make sure the solutions that we are implementing are clear, easy, narrow, and valuable. The second thing is, there's a lot of talk today about like the flexibility of what you can do with models. That's great if we want to spend a lot of time to really learn and understand how these models actually work and how we want to customize them. But ultimately, that's great fun if you're into that. But obviously, part of it, we're actually trying to solve specific and narrow problems. And we think that having a secure way to use a model that we've designed, we've implemented, we are solving a specific problem. It's not going to do everything for you. It's not supposed to, and that's the point. It's going to be narrow, it's going to be focused, and that means it's going to solve those problems very, very well. And then ultimately, it's not a disruption. It shouldn't be a disruption. It's all about multiplying your experts. It's going to come up with a huge number of suggestions, ideas. It's really great at that, but some of them are going to be bad. And so it's up to us as experts to make sure that we can figure out which ones are good. We can then actually scale our expertise, because we have great people at our organizations, and if they were doing this kind of stuff all day, every day, but there just aren't enough hours in the day. So this is a way to make sure that these people can actually get their expertise scaled. They can make those good decisions by having a lot of mediocre recommendations and then picking up the good ones from there. So actually how we I haven't talked about the product very much. This is what we're actually doing at Acorn. This is the first example of the things that we have ready to show off at our booth, which is just down the road there. We want to map capabilities to internal content. I mentioned this one already. You guys have huge libraries of content for your L&D space, and capabilities are how your organization is going to succeed. The problem is mapping those two things together. There's new capability initiatives. There's always new content. Trying to keep that up to date is a huge process. We've built an AI that's really targeted for that, so it can make that process much more maintainable. So you can have the ability to go and find great new content out there that's going to solve problems and make sure it's solving the right problems, and that users can actually find it. They know why they actually should be doing this content, because it's going to link to those capabilities, and those capabilities are how they're going to improve. The other side of things is mapping those capabilities to job descriptions. So the other side is like making sure that we have those job descriptions of what people need to do, putting them into Acorn so that Acorn can then understand what capabilities that your organization actually maps to those job roles. And that really gives the end-to-end process. You can have a user log into your system for the first time, get a good understanding of what they need to do for their role, and then be shown pathways for how they can improve the capabilities as part of that role. So from that's just what they experience. For us as administrators of this system, we need to make sure that these things are maintainable, these things can work sort of long term, because obviously these things change all the time. So those are like the two big ones that we're sort of promoting right now. If you want to get more information about those, they are down the road in the booth. We have a couple of people over there. I'll be down there as well in a little bit. So if you have any questions about that, about how Acorn is sort of approaching AI, the specific solutions, but also broadly, if you want to know how you can get AI systems adopted into your organizations, come talk to us. We have ideas. We've seen it work before. We've seen it not work before. So we know what you guys need. We know we'll be able to help you out. Thanks very much.